Welcome back to the Saints and Alumni Show right here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint. I'm your host this week, Brandon Murphy, class of 2017, Associate Director of Alumni Engagement. And this week I am joined by a classmate of mine, 2017, Firmin Alexander, a 2021 Gold Graduates of the Last Decade Standard Award recipient. And he's also recognized as a young alumni for his extraordinary achievements from professional success and service back to the Siena community and within the community that he lives. A reminder to everyone listening today that you can listen to the Saints and Alumni Show here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint, Apple and Spotify podcasts, iHeartRadio, and you can also subscribe to the Siena Alumni YouTube channel to check out the complete selection of shows. We have a great lineup today. We're so happy to have Firmin here with us here at Siena on campus, a beautiful fall week that we've had. Welcome to the show. I think it's your first time on the show.
Yeah, first time. Thank you so much. And the campus looks great, of course, as usual.
See, I always love it because my twin Andy, he takes all the photography for campus, and he always can capture the fall foliage around campus. It's kind of like a state park, and I remember as a student just walking along the academic quad and having those views as I go to the dining hall.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Now, Firmin, you're easily one of the most involved 2017 Saints. Your time here, probably the entire student body. You know, it's likely that we could do an entire segment of the show of just your involvement as a Saint. Those listening can't see the pile of notes that we have of everything that you were involved in at your time. But before we get into some of the nitty-gritty parts of your Siena experience, people want to know how you ended up at Siena. What was that college application process like for you, and when did you know you made that right decision to come to Siena?
Yeah, so my decision to come to Siena and, commit myself to Siena this much really was a pinhole moment in my life. I really wanted to go to Binghamton University, so boo to them. But I went there for a college tour because I was part of a nonprofit organization when I was younger, and they brought us to this college tour. I went to Binghamton University. It's a huge campus. It's the summertime, so regardless, there's kids on campus. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And I went to the admissions center. They sat me down. They gave me a little note with a number on it, and I waited for about 10, 15 minutes. Someone came out. They said, so why are you interested in Siena? Asked me a few questions about my resume and stuff like that, which was, great. I understood it, got it. Then the very next stop somehow was Siena College. I came here. I saw some friars walking around, so I'm like, okay, there's grown men walking around in Jedi costumes. Got it. Definitely not going to come here. So then I went to the admissions office, and I just walk up. Someone said, hey, Firmin, how's it going? Just walk in here with me. And first of all, I was freaked out. I was like, well, how do you know my name? And they had notes. They had everything from, hey, I know you're on a trip with your program. What else have you known about Siena? Here's some fun facts, things like that. And I walked out of that meeting in that office just like completely surprised. And Siena really became, I think at that moment, I was like, yeah, I pretty much have to come here because I felt so much at home without even knowing the campus, without even knowing about the Franciscans, and that they're actually not Jedi. So, yeah.
I had a similar experience, not going to name the school that I was visiting, but I went to an open house, a school out in Western New York, and there was no signage on campus. There was nobody welcoming me to campus to any of the events. And then when I came to Siena, you got that welcoming family atmosphere, and you kind of just felt like you were home. And you get that same feeling on move-in day. There's a lot of jitters, freshman move-in day. You're leaving your hometown, leaving the family, and you're starting this new journey. But Siena does a great job at welcoming our incoming students, from the student leaders and everything from moving everything out of your car up to your room to the whole entire weekend of orientation. Siena does a great job in kind of breaking some of that ice and giving you that college experience. What do you remember about moving in? Did you go with a random roommate? What did you study at college? And what were those first few weeks like as a freshman?
Yeah, so moving in, I remember pretty clearly I was in a Plasman Hall, so a little classy team there.
A little shout out.
Yep, a little shout out there. So I went to that back door. I had met my roommate from whatever program Siena had me in. So we spoke a few times here and there. And moving in actually just felt like I was getting escorted in. You know, people were like in the back of the van pulling things out. I'm like, oh, I think that's staying because it's a friend of mine's, and like, it was honestly a very quick and easy experience. Of course, there was tension because everyone's, you know, leaving their family as they move into campus, things like that. But after that, and everyone left and the families left, the icebreakers that happened were amazing. Just meeting everyone. In high school, I always wore this little floral bucket hat. And like for pretty much the first 2 weeks and throughout orientation, I had this bucket hat on and got known for that, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, pretty much that entire experience was amazing and set the standard for how my next 4 years is going to be there.
That's what's great about Siena. You know, for me, my saint was Clint. He was a year above me. And then I actually ended up living with him my junior year, his senior year in the townhouses. And we still stay connected to this day. And I think that's what's great about the relationships that are being built at Siena is you get to stay connected even after your time at Siena. And I know that goes the same for professors and friars and other community members on campus. And I know that you were a computer science major. How was that experience for you? And were there any professors or any other faculty members that kind of made a difference and impact on your time as a comp sci major?
Yeah, coming into Siena, I became a business major. But thank you for, I guess, Siena for being able to switch majors pretty easily, understand and figure out what you want to do. So that's very important. So I went from business, switched over to computer science because of Professor Small. She was the head of the computer science department at the time. I did a intro to computer science class, didn't do that great. And I'm like, you know what? I didn't do that great. I like computers. This is a little challenging. Let me stick with it. And yeah, continued going with that up until my senior year. And another professor came into play, Matthew Cusack. He was a professor at the time as well. And he helped me out with pretty much the entrepreneurial part of my Siena experience and my Siena career.
And you hint at the entrepreneur aspect of your college experience. We want to get that into the second segment today. But there's also a lot of other outside of the classroom experiences that you've had as a saint and that Siena offers to all of the student body. And one of them for you is the mentoring club. It's a big club on campus. It's been around for a while. And it's a great program that we have here for the Saints and for the Siena and Albany community. For our listeners today that may not know what the mentoring program is, can you provide a little bit of insight in how you got involved with the club and what that mission of the club is?
Yep. So my freshman year roommate actually was more involved in the beginning with mentoring. And then after seeing him leave every Saturday morning to go on like this school bus with a ton of kids, and he's coming back and he has so much energy, I decided to join as well. And then pretty much from then on, I was committed throughout Siena to the point where I actually was one of the mentors over the summer, because there's also the summer program for mentoring. But I would say that was a very big part of my weekends here at Siena. I'm very committed to it. It's pretty much you go have an impact with a student, I think they're around the age of like 6, 7, I'm not sure, and older. And you just speak with them. You talk about what's going on in their lives. You talk about their favorite things to do. You're really committed to that child over your 4 years. You get to see them grow. You pretty much be a mentor to them so that they could see opportunities that come your way at a young age, which is really, really important, and I think has a great impact on a lot of the students in the region. And I see those students sometimes around the area as well.
And was there ever an opportunity where you mentioned, you take the school bus out into their community?
Mm-hmm.
Were there ever times where we brought those community members onto our campus and kind of got to have them experience aspects of Siena and what that was like for those children?
Yeah, that was kind of one of the most fun moments too. Sometimes we will play basketball at the MAC in the gym there, and then also have them saga sit with us, or Longstream sit, I should say. But have them in the Siena community, being part of the community. A lot of the times my closest friends would come up and say, "Hey, Firmin, what are you doing? Like, what is this event for?" and that gets them a little involved as well. So they had opportunities to speak to other people that were majoring other programs at Siena. If people were interested in becoming a doctor, they could speak to certain friends on campus. So it's very open in that sense, which I think is very important. And it just shows, the amazing saints on campus, and where some of these students could see themselves in the future.
And you mentioned the amazing saints that we have on campus. Siena has just enrolled consecutively over 900 incoming freshmen for the last 3 years, setting school records in each of those last 3 years. And it's great to see the campus continue to grow and continuing to bring new students to campus, new majors on campus as well that are being provided from Siena. And you played a important role in that as your time as a saint within the enrollment and admissions office as the McGuire Society. Yeah. What is a McGuire on campus, and what did the admission team do with them?
I think the McGuire Society is probably the reason I'm at Siena. It's probably a member of the McGuires that came in and said, "Hey, Firmin, come to our office and speak." So kind of came full circle in that sense. Really, the McGuire Society is just a Siena College students, current Siena College students, given the opportunity to share their own story and also share the story of Siena. Why do they love Siena? What are the reasons for coming to Siena? And then also figure out whether or not a student is a good fit for Siena. Because some students, maybe like I thought I was going to go to a bigger school and a bigger school would be amazing. But coming to a smaller school, I was able to hone in better skills in that sense. So speaking to prospective students and also their parents, you get kind of a more love for Siena, a better understanding for Siena, and also you get to tell your story of why it's so great to be a saint.
And your story continues, not just at your time at Siena, but also since you graduated. There's been a ton of success in your career, and we want to talk about that a little bit in the second segment. So stay right with us. We'll be right back here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint. Welcome back to the Saints and Alumni Show right here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint. I'm your host this week, Brandon Murphy, class of 2017 and Associate Director of Alumni Engagement. And this week I am joined by a classmate of mine and a dear friend of the Siena community, Firmin Alexander, a 2021 Gold Standard recipient. He was recognized as a young alum for his extraordinary achievements from professional success and service to the community and the Siena community. Firmin, thanks again for being with us today, and we can't wait for segment number 2.
Yeah, looking forward.
At Siena, we just had the Madeline Wall of Success ceremony. We inducted 5 new members to the Madeline Wall. And for those who don't know, the Madeline Wall is made possible through the generous support of Guy Madeline, class of 1989. He is the founder and CEO of GTM Payroll Services, which is spearheaded by and located within the Stack Center on campus. It displays the logos of all the companies launched by Siena graduates, and the inaugural class had over 30 firms and companies inducted into the wall. So the Christine M. 75 and David M. Stack 73 Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship is an interdisciplinary program focused on business creation from idea all the way through development and commercialization. And Firmin, I know you had a minor in entrepreneurship, and you were also heavily involved within the club itself. So can you share a little bit with our listeners this afternoon what went into your experience and how you got involved with entrepreneurship at Siena?
Yep. So my high school career had a lot of entrepreneurship skill sets going into it. I had a clothing company, a photography company. Some failed. Some are doing pretty well. So the Stack Center was pretty much kind of a second home outside the classroom for me when it came to my time here at Siena. I worked on with 2 other Siena alumni of my year, Kevin Danaher and Jennifer Hogan, on a app company called Teach Me. We worked on that beginning, I believe it was sophomore, junior year, all the way up to senior year and after graduation. And Teach Me pretty much was built on the resources and the connections made at the Stack Center. And pretty much all those companies on the wall, we would sit down and just figure out which one of these companies would help us. You could add any of them on LinkedIn, any of the founders or anyone working at the business. As soon as they see we were from Siena and we were current students, they helped us tremendously, all the way down to the point where the company I work for now is on that same wall, and they helped me throughout the process of working on Teach Me.
And we're gonna get to Troy Webb Consulting in one minute. But I do want to stay on this topic of the Madeline Wall of Success and the Stack Center. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you also came back in the spring of 2022 to be a judge for Spark Tank.
Yes, I did. Wow, I forgot about that too. Doing the research. All right. Yeah, so I came back for that, which again, another full circle event for me in my Sienna career. I got to sit down and listen to companies that I was in their same shoes at one point, pitch different ideas, which those ideas are just amazing. And the things that people come up with are mind-blowing, to say the least. So that was actually a really great experience and something I actually almost slipped my mind there.
My intern, I think she competed spring of 2022. She was working on another company with another former athlete at Sienna, and they just rave about that experience and the different connections that people can make at their time as a Sienna student. And we always say this, it's what makes Sienna so special. It's these outside of the classroom experiences and this hands-on learning that the Saints can have that sometimes may not happen until the graduate level and sometimes may not happen until somebody gets a job. And you have a great success story with Troy Webb Consulting. So can you share a little bit about your path since graduation in 2017, how these experiences at Sienna helped prepare you for this journey that you've been on?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the Stack Center, working on that software company that we started building from scratch, we met a lot of previously graduated alumni from Sienna that were essentially mentors for our business. A lot of them just came through for events and just sat down with a lot of people from the companies. And then we went to competitions. We raised money for our business as well. So all that to say, that transition into after college, after raising that money and that capital, a lot of things with entrepreneurship, not everything goes well. So the company failed, but ultimately the silver lining out of that is the people that we met and the alumni that we met. So one day I was strapped for cash and needed to do something. So I just asked my alumni network essentially to put my name out there a little bit. And then I ran into Anthony DeBonis, who is the president of Troy Webb Consulting. And he also connected me with John Brissetti, who's the CEO, and he's class of 90. So shout outs again to Sienna for that. And I sat down with them. We pretty much discussed my skills and my history, and then we discussed everything that has changed on campus at Sienna. So really great experience there and a really great connection.
And you even saw that when you came onto campus today. Even though it's only been 5 years, there's been a lot of new enhancements in campus beautification that's happened around campus. And we're so thankful that you took the time to sit down with us today to talk about your Sienna experience and life since Sienna. But when you're not here at Sienna doing the podcast, can you kind of take us through a day-to-day in Troy Webb Consulting, what your day entails, and maybe some of the skill sets that you use?
Yeah, so a lot of skills kind of stem from things that I've learned in my computer science degree and then also in general with marketing myself as an entrepreneur. So for a computer science degree, I run and maintain a lot of the website development work that we do at Troy Webb Consulting, taking care of pretty much these websites are marketing tools. So we take care of everything from building the website so I could still use some code from my education for a lifetime there. So I could still use some code there. And then on the marketing aspect of things, I run the marketing department for the business. So work with my intern, which every single marketing intern that I've had has been a Sienna student. So I'm going to stick to that.
Yeah, I'm going to tell Andy that in the marketing office.
There you go. So we hire interns pretty much to work on the business and work on getting more app development work. But also there's some flexibility there. And I think it's probably because our CEO is a Sienna alum, but there's some flexibility in there because when I first joined the business, I wanted to create my own marketing company. And the 3 owners pretty much agreed that rather than I quit and leave the company in 2 years, which as an entrepreneur, that's what I was itching to do, and create my own business, they decided that I could actually create the business within the company. So they gave me a lot of flexibility there, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
And it's always great to see the success professionally. But it's also always great to see our alumni take that Franciscan mission and continue to do great work outside of Siena. And one of the organizations that you're heavily involved in is the Best Buddies Club of the Capital Region. And you were recently nominated for Best Buddies Champion of the Year for New York State. Can you talk about your involvement within that club and the mission behind Best Buddies in New York State?
Yeah, so Best Buddies is an organization that supports and creates opportunities for people in the community that have intellectual and developmental disabilities. Essentially, the Best Buddies Champion of the Year is about 10 to 11 of us that work with someone with what's called IDD. And our goal is to raise $3,000 each. However, with that being said, a lot of it is to promote the mission of Best Buddies. So doing things just like this, for example, is a great way to learn about the program. So I'm very involved in that right now. Last week, we had a great fundraising event where we raised a ton of money for the program. I'm putting towards essentially a package from my clothing company that I own and run, so that we could raise even more money and auction off some clothing from there. So a lot of the efforts that I've had and put towards that is really near and dear to me, and that's one of the Franciscan core values that stuck with me, is just giving back to the community, much like mentoring program and so many other things.
And is this Clue's clothing that you have?
Yeah, it's Clue Clothing. It's a clothing company that I had since high school, and my co-founder has worked on pretty much his entire life. But now we're deciding to give back to the community, and we have done a few things here and there, but just ramping that up a little bit more.
And for Best Buddies, how long have you been in Best Buddies? Was that something that is kind of linked with the mentoring program at Siena? Is that something completely different? Is there anybody else within the Siena community that you're currently working with nowadays for the Champion of the Year?
Yeah, so funny enough, it's another Siena connection. Kate Nitty, which is, I believe, I'm probably going to give her promotion by saying her title, but like director of the program in the area. I'm not completely sure. But she recognized my interactions with a individual that has IDD and is part of the Best Buddies program. And we pretty much just clicked. We knew each other really well just in our friend group, and she decided to just speak to me a little bit more about Best Buddies and inform me about the mission. And then ultimately, I couldn't resist. She tapped into the Franciscan values, and here I am.
You hooked it right there.
Yep.
Yeah, Kate Nitty's actually from my hometown.
Oh, wow.
In Utica, in the Utica area. I live out in this very small town outside of Utica.
Connections everywhere.
Everywhere's. And we still stay in touch every now and then. And it's great for you working with so many Siena alumni and having all those connections even in your professional life. But before we get to some of the advice for people listening today, current students, prospective students, is there anything that you miss most about your time as a Saint? For me, I work closely with the Senior Gift Campaign, and we have the champagne toast, we have the kickoff party, we have 21 Club. So there's always nostalgia for me. I see it every single day in my job. What do you miss most about being on campus and that you're happy about being back today?
I think it's a lot of the camaraderie of just like for example, the townhouse is great. It's like you're in a closed community with just friends and people your age, all trying to figure out life, all trying to do things together. I think that was pretty much one of the biggest ones. And then also, and I think I still do this now in my professional career, outside of school, you're not just, hey, I'm doing schoolwork and then that's it. There's always something to do on campus to get involved. So for me, for my job, there's my job, and then I could do things like this, and I do give back to the community, things like that. So I think I miss that, but I also transferred it into what I do now, so it had an impact on me, definitely.
And we do want to have you give some advice to people listening today, but maybe not too much, because we wanted to keep you coming back to campus. We would love to have you work with the Career and Internship Center and speak to current students and even be on panels for prospective students. So definitely. We're so thankful that you took the time out to speak with some of us today. And then for those listening, any final pieces of advice and any life lessons that you learned throughout your time?
Yeah, I think for a piece of advice, one of the biggest things I've seen and I've mentioned throughout this podcast, is the ability to reach out to your alumni network, I would say take advantage of that as much as possible. Just because you're currently in school, that actually is a good thing. They're more than happy to support you. This is a very tight-knit community. And, as long as you're a Saint, you'll definitely have that connection.
And thanks again, Firmin, for sharing all the insight and your Siena story with the community today. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Saints and Alumni Show. We'll see you next time here on WVCO 88.2 The Saint. Have a great weekend.